Okay, perfect. So, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. For today's video, we'll be talking about the education occupations that were added under the STEM category by Canada government yesterday. There were about 5 categories that were added. So I'm going to talk about what all of this means, how to calculate your points, and pretty much get into next steps for you if this is something that you're interested in. I'll also take questions at different intervals. So if you're watching this after it's finished, then you will have an idea of some of the questions. And if that's applicable to you, then great. If your question is different, you can certainly reach out in the comments and I will definitely respond to you there. Perfect. So let's jump right into it. 1 second. So for those who have been keeping up with my TikTok, and if you're not keeping up with my TikTok, please do. The link is down below where you can definitely go ahead to follow me on there, because usually the videos I post on there first and then I come over here. I also try to do live on here more so than recorded content, because it's like I want to get the information out, and sometimes if you record the video then you have to go edit it, do thumbnail, do all of these different things, and it just takes a long time to get the information out there, right? So the live, it's where it's at. It's not the best quality, but we move, right? So for persons who have been keeping up, I made a video yesterday talking about all the education occupations that were added under the STEM category for express entry. For persons who are not familiar with STEM and what it means, this is basically a specialized list of occupations that are under the express entry category. You have health and social services, you have like science and technology and engineering, so those type of occupations. You have trade occupations, which are like carpenters, and you also have agriculture, which is like farm workers, right? A whole bunch of occupations were also removed, but we're not going to get into the ones that were removed. We're going to more so focus on the education occupations that were added, right? And as per usual, I have my little agenda to kind of help me stay focused. So for the STEM updates and why it is so meaningful. So for all the categories that I just talked about that are under STEM, these are occupations that are in demand here in Canada. And because they are in demand, the government from time to time with the express entry pool that I talked about a lot, and I'll also explain on here what that is and what it means. But from time to time, because these categories are in demand, the government will pull persons from that pool that have worked under this specific occupation. Say someone that has worked under trades or someone that has worked in healthcare, and they would be invited to apply for PR. You don't have to be in Canada currently to be invited. You can be in Canada or you can be somewhere else in the world. What matters is that you have the number of experience, number of years or number of months of experience that they're looking for. Currently, for the education occupation, they're looking for at least 6 months of full-time work experience. And this work experience would have to have been gained within the past 3 years. It doesn't have to be from one job. You could have worked 3 jobs within the last 3 years, but as long as you're able to show that you have three, the 6 months, of experience, then that would be sufficient for the program. That's just a part of the requirement, right? So I'm going to get into, so I talked about STEM and why it is important and what it means, right? So the next aspect of that is express entry and what express entry is, right? So I did a little analogy on my TikTok, but I won't do it here because I don't know, I don't want to, I kind of practice it a little bit so I could come across really well and be pretty much explained properly over there, but I won't use the same analogy on here. But for express entry, ExpressEntry is pretty much an online pool of applicants here in Canada or elsewhere in the world. What gets you into the pool is different factors. So persons essentially log onto the system, and the different factors include their age, it includes how many years of experience that you have, your level of education, and of course, a big factor that goes into the number of points that you're able to get under this system is your English exam. So, if some of you are familiar with the English exam and how that works in Canada, usually they're asking for a minimum score. Some programs will ask that you have a minimum of 4 in this English exam, some will ask for a minimum of 7. With the ExpressEntry and how it works and how it will work for teachers, the higher you're able to score on the English exam, the better it is for you. The reason for that is because it's a points-based system. So just like an exam, the higher your points, the more marks you will get, right? Or the higher your likelihood of passing such exam. So that's for the ExpressEntry and how you get into it. A lot of persons are asking, how do I apply? So it's not necessarily applying, it's more so registering, right? So say you are a secondary school teacher, you have a BSc, you are 26. You have all of these things, plus you have the 6 months of experience that we talked about, right? So you're not just going to go somewhere and apply, especially if you're outside of Canada. When you're in Canada, the process looks a little bit different for you when you're outside of Canada, but there are some similarities. But let's talk about someone that's outside of Canada, right? So we have a teacher, 26, 6 months of experience, has his BSc, and he's a secondary school teacher, right? So he's not necessarily going to go somewhere and apply. What he is going to do first, he needs to get his credentials evaluated. And what the evaluation is going to do, and once again, for persons who are familiar, one of the bodies that does the evaluation is WES. So he would go to WES and get his BSc evaluated to see what this equates to in Canada. Because as I said, getting points in the system is what the aim of the game is. So the higher your level of education, the more points you will be awarded. In the same way that even though I live here, this is the same way that I came. It wasn't for teachers, because obviously I'm not a teacher, but it was still under a different category for ExpressEntry. So I too had to do all of these things to get points. The only difference with me and this hypothetical person that we're talking about is that they studied outside of Canada and I studied inside Canada. So I didn't have to get my credentials assessed, right? All right, so you're following me. So we have this person. So what he would do is get his credentials assessed to see what that equates to on Canada in Canada, right? And then after he does that, then he would go and do his English exam. If he's in Jamaica, I know that UWI offers the English exam. So he can go to UWI, do his English exam. The aim of the game with the English, once again, the higher you're able to score, the better it is for you. Since the education sector has just been added, we don't know when they start pulling persons and inviting them to apply for their residency, what the score will be, right? In terms of the minimum number of points that are required. For in the USA, it depends on where you're located, but I'm going to post all the 3 options that are available, and you're able to look on their website, put in your city or your postal code, and it will show you like a list of test centers that are closest to you. All right. So let me share my screen for a little bit so I can show you how, because this is what I recommend for everybody. And let me say this before I kind of move on. So with the ExpressEntry, to enter the pool, it is free. You're not charged to enter the ExpressEntry pool, right? In terms of the pool is just their online registration. They call it a pool, right? So there's not a fee to enter there. When you enter when you enter your information, like your name, your years of experience, all of these different things, how much you scored on your English exam, what's your highest level of education, all of these things, then your points are tallied at the end, right? And then you register on the pool. So now you're just waiting. Now you will just be waiting for when the government goes in and they pick persons from that pool. The higher your points, the more likely it is that you're going to get selected. What contributes to your points, once again, is your education, your experience, your age, your marital status, and your level of English, right? Or French. If you have both, it's even better. But those are some of the factors that qualify the number of points that you would have. But you register in the pool, your information is there, and you just leave it. It lasts for 2 years. When 2 years come, if you're not selected by the government, then it would expire and you'd have to re-enter it. However, because they recently added teachers, what they're indicating, as I said in the beginning, is that this is something that's in demand. This is something that they need. So I don't want it to be a case where in a month they pull persons from the pool for under the education occupation and you're not in it and you qualify. That is the problem that me and you is going to have. No, right? So I say to persons, if you can get into the pool, especially people who have their WES or have done their English, just go into the pool and sit there. There was a time maybe about 3 years or so ago where they did a draw and it was like 73. And it was not for only persons in Canada, it was for persons everywhere in the world. The score, the number of points that you had to have was 73 or higher, right? So you know that the pool was literally cleared at that time. No. So if you have an associate degree with social work, you can, if it's outside of Canada, you can get it assessed. The only thing, because you don't have experience, that will affect your points. So just this program only requires 6 months. And no, it's not just the 6 months. You need the 6 months, but there are other factors that contributes to how successful you will be. And I'm going to show you guys how to calculate it. That's why I said, right? So let me share my screen. I'm just going to go to the website and then I'm going to share my screen. So you have, because I talked in hypotheticals just now, but I'm going to show you like real life. I don't know if someone in the chat want to volunteer and be the guinea pig for the, for the test that I'm about to do. If you want to be the guinea pig, let me know. Somebody that has maybe a BSc or experience, something like that. Any volunteers? No volunteers? Okay, so Asante said he'll be the volunteer. Okay, perfect. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Let me share my screen. And I want to see when you're entering in the information, so I have to grab my phone. 1 second. Because when I switch, I won't see it. But if I get it up on here, no, you don't have to be 26. I just use 26 as an example. But as I said, you're given points for your age, and the younger you are, the more points you get. I'm gonna go to the live, guys. Give me a second. Okay, what if you're 20 like myself? Yeah, the age limit is 18 or older. Yeah. All right, perfect. So Asante said he'll be our guinea pig, right? So the first question, and I have my phone so I can see your responses. So the first question is, what is your marital status? And oh, sorry guys, before I even do that, I'm not necessarily forget or single, but give me a second. In order to get to this particular page here, let me send the link in the chat. Mind my manners, hold on. So this is the link. I'm going to try to pin it so you guys can use it now or you can use it later. But this is what you use to calculate your points. You can literally, I'm going to show you how to use it in like a hypothetical scenario with your own personal information. And then based on that, you can have an idea of the number of points that you would have. So you know, if you take, for example, with the trade draw that was done under STEM recently, they had one that was about, I think it was 445. That was the lowest score that you had to have to be invited. For teachers, this was added yesterday. We don't know what the score will be when they do the very first draw, right? And these draws are random. They used to do it every 2 weeks, and then it's sporadic. So it's not necessarily that I can say to you, oh, my dad is calling me. It's not like I can say to you, it will be done in 2 weeks or it will be done in 3 weeks. What I can say, it will be done at some point. So if it's free to get into the pool, it makes sense for you guys to go in there, right? So I showed you the link. I sent you the link in terms of how to get onto the calculator to calculate your score, right? And if you can see, when you're on the website, it gives you the different sections. And this is, in essence, the stages that your application would go through. So as you can see, it shows you who can apply, and it will give you a breakdown of all the hundreds of different occupations that are under the program itself. For STEM, there is only about 6 occupations that are under there. So it says who can apply. It says check your score, which is the step that we are at currently, right? Hold on a second, guys. Excuse me. Yes, sorry about that. So that's the step that we're at right now. And then, of course, as I mentioned, get your documents. So the first step is checking your score, so you have a pretty good idea of where you would fall on the spectrum. So if you see that you have a pretty decent score, even if it's low, then it is fine too. I heard that West varies based on where you're located, but I've heard persons say 8 weeks, and this person was in Jamaica. So you get your documents ready. So if you have the documents, preparation would involve you getting your West done and also getting your English exam done, right? And then creating your profile. As you can see, there's a link. You click on it and it takes you to the section to create your profile. Rounds of invitation. This is the part where I talk about where they now go in based on which sector they believe is in demand more or where they want persons for right now. They will do a round of invitation. So they could do a round of invitation for teachers. They could do a round of invitation for trades. They could do a round of invitation for persons who speak French that are in the pool, right? So that's the round of invitation. If you're invited in that round based on your score, then you would go ahead to apply for residency. So as I said, ExpressEntry is not something new. What is new to us right now is the fact that they've added teachers to a list of in-demand categories, which is under STEM, right? All right, perfect. So let's go back to the calculation. So he said he's single. So as you can see, it shows you all the different options that are here, right? So I'll put never married, single. So the next question, Asante, is how old are you? Okay. So he says he's 41. And how the and don't quote me on this part, guys, but how the calculator works, I believe for age specifically, right? I believe when you get to 35, for each year that you go up, it's like you lose points. I don't remember if it starts at 35, but there's a certain particular age when you get to it, you start losing points, 2 points, 3 points, 5 points, that type of thing, right? Okay, perfect. So we have that. And the next one is, what is your level of education? And let me show you the options just so you have an idea. Why my laptop won't scroll? Hold on. Okay. So he says he has a bachelor's, right? So for the bachelor's that you have, was it a 3 or more year program at a university or college? And you can literally look at the options on screen and tell me which one to choose. Yes, 3-year diploma, 2-year degree. Okay, so 2-year program at a university. Okay, so I'll choose this one. So this is the part for that I want to explain for persons who are outside of Canada, right? So in order for you to, when in us doing this, we're doing it from and I'll switch to my screen here. In us doing this, we're doing it from a hypothetical stance because he's saying that he has a 2-year degree. But in order for us to know that that is truly a 2-year degree on Canadian soil, it has to be evaluated. So right now we're just going based on the fact that, okay, it's a 2-year degree in, I'm not sure where he is, but let's say he's in Jamaica. It's a 2-year degree in Jamaica. We're just going on a hypothetical that West will evaluate it and it would equate to the same thing here. He could potentially evaluate it and it be equal to a 1-year diploma here, right? So when you are doing your calculation on your end, you'll have an understanding that you would select whatever is equivalent to yours, but know that it may be the same when you do it with West, or it may be lower than, right? So we have that clear. Okay, next one. Have you earned a Canadian degree or diploma? Are you here in Canada, Asante, or are you in some other country? Okay, so no. So this one is no. For persons who have earned a Canadian degree, they would say yes to this one. And of course, if you have both studies from outside Canada and inside Canada, you are given additional points. As I said, everything that we're selecting is points based. So we'll say no, right? And then for this one, for those who are familiar, or he's in Jamaica, for those who are familiar and for those who aren't familiar, when you take your English exam or when you take your French exam, these are valid for 2 years. So that's why this one says, are your test results less than 2 years old? I don't know if you've done any English. Asante, you can let me know if you have. If you haven't, it's fine. Okay, so he's never done it. But for the purposes of calculating it, since it's required to enter the pool, we have to say yes, right? Okay, and I assume you don't speak French, so I'm going to select that you've taken English. And since you're in Jamaica, I believe the only option for the English test is AL. So that is the one that I'm going to select. As I said, if you say no to these, you can't say no because the test is required to enter the pool. So you can't say no. So when you're calculating it, I'm going to tell you how you select the numbers, right? So the numbers that you select here, since he hasn't done the test and we don't know what he will score, we'll do it in form of hypotheticals. For you personally, because you know your ability, then you would select the number that you believe you would, that you would score on this particular test. So for those who are familiar, and for those who aren't, the English exams, they're broken down into 4 different sections. you have speaking, you have listening, you have reading, and you have writing. For the speaking aspect, for IELTS, which is the most popular one, you are speaking with someone directly in front of you, and they're grading you based on the words that are coming out of your mouth, right? Live, there, and then. So they're asking you questions, having a conversation, and then they're grading you. For CELPIP, which is another option, if persons are in the States, you're in Canada, or you're in some other country, CELPIP may be an option for you. For CELPIP, you're not speaking to someone. For CELPIP, you're recording your voice into the computer. When you finish the exam, someone else goes and listens to that and then gives you a grade on it. So a lot of times when persons ask me, Toya, which one do you think is better? I usually use that. If you're someone that kind of chokes up when you're talking to somebody face to face, or it kind of makes you nervous or trip over your words, stuff like that, then I would definitely recommend that you go with CELPIP, right? So that way you're just talking into a computer and then someone listens to it afterwards. If you are someone that can speak in front of somebody, speak in front of a crowd, and you're fine and you're good, then you wouldn't have a problem doing IELTS, right? For the listening aspect, for both CELPIP and IELTS, it follows the same cadence. It's a case where you're listening to a recording and then you're answering questions based on what you have heard, right? For the reading aspect of it, it's the same way for both. You are, for the reading, you're reading like different paragraphs. Sometimes you're reading a whole story. And then on the next page, they're asking you questions. So some the tests are set up different. Sometimes you have to kind of try to remember some of the stuff that you read and then answer the questions. And they sometimes give you multiple choice, right? But if you're familiar with English, then you know sometimes two answers can seem like it's right, but it's really and truly just one correct answer. So it's tricky like that, right? And then for writing, as the name suggests, you are writing. So they may ask you to write about a time when you went to a concert. They may ask you to write about somebody that you admire the most, just to kind of test how you use grammar and punctuation, how you use capital letters and those sort of things. So with CELPIP and English, it's set up in that way. With some test centers, and this varies, with some test centers, IELTS may be 100% on paper, or it could be on a computer, but in most cases it's on paper. But for CELPIP is 100% on the computer. So those are some factors to bear in mind when you're choosing, if you have the option to choose between CELPIP and IELTS. Another one of the test options for English or French is PTE Core. So PTE Core was recently approved to be added. So I don't know much about them. Can you do it from Jamaica? I don't believe CELPIP is offered in Jamaica. I think it's just IELTS that's offered at UE. But you can always double check, but I don't think CELPIP is there. Okay, perfect. So I gave you a little bit of a background on how CELPIP is, right? So now on IELTS, and also we touched on PTE Core. So now, when you are doing your calculation to see what your scores are, this is the part now where you would, based on how you believe your ability is, you would select the scores, right? So in this example, we're going to go for the higher numbers. So we're going to go to between 7.5 to 9 for speaking. For listening, we're going to go to an 8. And remember, there is no minimum score that you need to achieve. Your goal is to try to get as high a number as possible. That's the ultimate goal, right? Okay, and then for reading, we're going to do the same, 8, because Asante has a BSc, so we're going to assume that Asante is good at English. And then we're going to do a 7.5 to 9, right? And then the next question is, do you have any other language results? This is for persons who are bilingual that have done both an English exam and a French exam. So they would select enter their French results. And of course, that also gives you additional points, right? But Asante doesn't have French, so we'll say not applicable. All right. So the next part is work experience. So the first experience that they ask about is if you have any work experience in Canada. This would be more so applicable to persons who have worked here or who currently live here. Of course, once again, everything that you're answering to on the calculator is points based, right? So in Asante's example, he doesn't have any experience in Canada, so we'll say none, right? All right, so this is the next part now. So in the last 10 years, how many total years of foreign skilled work experience do you have? So since he's in Jamaica and he's been working in the BSc field, I'll ask him now how many years of experience he has. Okay, perfect. So he has 7 years. So we'll do 3 or more years. Right? This once again goes for somebody that's here in Canada. So we'll say no. This is if you were given points for getting a job here in Canada. This is actually something that they're going to take out of the portal shortly. So this won't be in there pretty soon. I don't remember the date on that, but I'll say no. Do you have a nomination from a province or territory? Once again, this would be applicable to someone here if they had a nomination, but I'll say no. All right, so this is the next part. No. So do you, and I'm speaking to Asante now, do you or your spouse or common law partner, if this person will come to Canada with you, have at least like a brother or a sister that lives in Canada who is a citizen or a resident? This also give you points. If you are the person that you're with, if this person will come with you to Canada, if they have a brother here or a sister here, or you have a brother here or a sister here, it also gives you points, but they have to be a citizen or a resident. So Asante says yes. Okay, perfect. I'm just double checking the points. Okay, perfect. So now we're going to put, so now you would press calculate score. Okay, so as you can see, it now tells you all ExpressEntry candidates get a score out of 1200 based on da 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 da, and you guys can read that on your own. So as you can see here now, these are all the points that are attached to your different factors that you entered into the calculator, right? There are numbers where you literally, that's the max that you can receive for a particular sector, right? So for age, he got 39. For education, he got 98. For official languages, he got 133. That's his English exam based on the score that we entered, right? So based on how he does when he does the actual English test, this can be higher or this can be lower. So this is something that's in his control, like age and level of education, things like that that he already has and he wouldn't be able to change, right? He doesn't have a spouse, so he doesn't get any points for this. For persons who are married or you're in a common law relationship, if this person will come with you and say he had a wife, for example, and she had a BSc 2, or she has a master's, then as you can see, that person would be given points for their education. They would also be required to take the English exam as well, or the French exam, and they would be given points. So all of these factors, as you can see, these are the factors that contributes to the total number of points that you're able to get, right? And it just goes into all of the other factors. As you can see, for Canada, he got 15 points for having a sibling here in Canada. And then the total score that he has gotten based on the hypothetical numbers. Remember, we don't know how much he'll score on the English exam. He can do better than the numbers that we entered, or he can do worst. So that part would be in his control. Certain factors won't change, like the sibling points will always be the same. For example, your age plays a part. The younger you are, as I mentioned, the more points you'll get. And I'll do it for someone else. If someone on the chat who is of a different age, I can do it for you as well. So for Asante, the total score that he has is 360. That's the total score based on the information that we entered. So let me go back to this so I can bring it into perspective for everyone that's on the live. So we just did the calculator, which is checking his score. In terms of getting the documents ready, as I told you, it's him assessing his BSc with Wes and him doing the English exam. The next step would be him creating an ExpressEntry profile, So in terms of the profile and what goes into it, it's literally the same thing that we just entered here. It's the same thing that you're putting on the portal. You're putting in your first and last name, whether you're married or you're single, your age, your level of education, how many years of experience. So literally it mirrors what we have here. It's just know that you're on the official portal, right? And to get there, all you would do is to click on the link here. So he has his documents. Now he gets to the stage where he's going to create his profile. And as you can see, this is something that you can literally do on your own. It's not a case where you have to go hire some fancy lawyer or somebody to do it, right? You can literally do this on your own. So he has the documents. He's ready to do the portal. He creates the portal, adds all his information in there. So with his score, 360, let's say the same number that we put in for the test, it's the same number that he would, so Lowens wants to do it. Okay, Lowens, we can do you next. Yes, so the same number, 360, let's say that's the number that he carries over to the portal. So because the government has added education under the STEM category, it now means that if the government goes in and they say, okay, we want to pull all the teachers who are in the pool that currently have a score of 350 or above, and we want to invite them to apply for PR here in Canada. They're going to say the score is 350, but because his score is higher than what they deem to be the cutoff in that pool, then he would get invited. And I'll take questions soon. Janelle. Yes, so he would get invited to apply for his residency. So when he's creating the portal and creating his profile, you're just entering information. When you get invited to apply for your residency, now you have to prove everything that you told them that you have. So it's not going to be a case where you can just go in and create a profile and say you have 4 masters and you scored I don't know, you scored 10 on CellPip and give yourself all these high numbers just to get in the portal. No, if you're invited, you now have to prove it. And if you can't prove it, you will be rejected. So please don't waste your time and go into the people in profile with no wrong score. You have to go in there with what is real and true to you and what you know that you can prove when you get invited to apply for PR, right? So, and why I say it's important that no matter what your score is, you still go into the portal, because the education sector is new. We don't know what when they pull persons for the first time, what that cutoff score would be. And you don't want it to be really low and you're thinking, oh, my score is too low, I'm not going to go in there. And then the score is low and you don't get invited. In terms of how they come up with the number, in terms of, I use 350 as an example, it's like a median. So, when you have, I'm not good at maths, but say 10 persons are in the pool and they add up all 10 persons score, they divide it, and that's how they get the number, right? So the number you won't know ahead of time. It's just on the day that they do the round of invitations, that's when we get to know the numbers. So since I did Asante's profile, before I take any other questions, I'll allow him to ask any questions if anything wasn't clear for him to ask any questions that he may have. Yeah, 360 isn't bad. And Asante, if you're still here, do you have any questions? Okay, I think Asante may have jumped. Okay, perfect. So in that example, we used his example. For Lowens, I'll ask you what's your age and what's your highest level of education. So Lowens is 26, okay. And what's your highest level of education, Lowens? And let me set this up. Diploma, is it a 1-year diploma, 2-year diploma? What are we looking at? This thing not gonna give me problem now. Hold on a second, guys. I'm gonna reshare my screen. You have to give me the, remember guys, I'm not familiar with the dental school and all the different things, you know. You have to give me the type of degree. Okay, Asante says it was clear. You have to give me the type of degree that you have, Lawrence. Where have you finished dental school, or you haven't finished in dental school, or dental school is what gave you the diploma? Okay, that's fine too. So when you finish, so do you want to use the diploma, or do you want to use your 5 years in dental school? Why is my screen black? All of these things play a factor, you know. So you tell me what you want to use, and I'll use just that. Okay, you want to use your license in the USA. Okay. So when I'm going through the questions, you tell me the level of education to select, right? So the first one always, what's your marital status? Are you single, common law, married? What's your situation? Okay, so he's single. So, and you said you're 26. Okay, you get good points for being that age. All right, so this is the part now where I need you to tell me what to select from this list based on the credentials that you want to use. Remember, the higher the credential, the more points you are awarded. Oops, sorry. No, Lowens, man, you're using a Galaxy. No, oh, you're taking so long to type. What's your level of education? The highest one. Which one? What's 2 years? Okay, good. All right, perfect. And you said you're in the US, so I would assume that you have no Canadian degree. If I'm wrong, you can tell me and I can change it. And I'm going through this quicker now because the other one was slow, so you guys know the buttons to click, right? English exam. As I told you, you have to have an English exam to go into the pool. He's in the US and he had asked about CELPIP. So I'm going to add CELPIP as his official language, right? For Lowens, we're going to do a mix of mid-high type of score, right? So he's in dental school, so I'm assuming he speaks really well. So we're going to do speaking there. For listening, we're going to do 9. For reading, we're going to do a high score 2. For writing, we're going to do 9. And see, Lowens, listen. Lowens also speaks French. So I'm going to say that you'll do both the English exam and you'll also do the French exam. I think you'll be a perfect candidate though. I think French gives you additional score. We're going to see how much it is. But this is how the scores for TEF, for the French exam works. So I'm going to do moderate scores for here because I don't know if French is like your native language or how fluent you are in it. So I'll do moderate scores. And writing, oops. So moderate. So this is for Canadian experience. He's not in Canada, so I'll say no. So in terms of your work experience and working with, you said you've worked with kids on the spectrum. I don't know if you've done any other teaching jobs, but how many years of experience would you say you have? Two years. Okay, perfect. So 6 months is what you need to qualify under the STEM category. Remember, even without being under STEM, you can still be in the ExpressEntry pool. It's just a case where if you are under STEM, you have a higher chance of being selected, especially now with all that's happening in immigration. They're more so focused on what's in demand, and the categories under STEM are what's in demand right now, right? So you don't have any certification from Canada. You don't have a job offer. And you don't have a nomination. Okay, so for you, since you're single, do you have any siblings here that are citizens or PR and they're above the age of 18? And it can also be step siblings. Oh, he said no. Okay. Okay, perfect. So let's do just a quick check. So single, 26, 2-year program, no to experience in Canada, English exam, French exam, work experience in Canada, none, 2 years out of Canada, no additional certifications from any Canadian body. And then now we are cousins. No, cousins don't count. It has to be blood, adoption, or like your step siblings from marriage for your parents. So I'm going to calculate your score now. Okay. And as you can see, as I had said to you guys before, your age plays a big factor in terms of your total points. So he's with Asante, he was 41. He was given 39 points. With Lowens being on the younger side, he was given 110. Not saying that you're old, Asante. Not saying that. I'm just saying that's how they calculate the points, right? I don't remember what Asante's level of education was in terms of the points. I know that he has a BSc there. And then for the language, Lowens was given 130. For the French, he was given 12, but that's more so because I was on the conservative side with the numbers. So that can be higher or lower depending on how well he does in the exam, right? For education, for his 2 years, he was given 25. For his work experience, as I mentioned, he doesn't have any of these, but he's given an additional 50 points for his language, right? And look at his score. So his score now would be 450. So if he goes into the pool And there's a draw, even if it's the draw that we talked about before with Asante, where the draw was 350, then Lowens would definitely be selected. If it's 400, he would be selected. As long as it's 450 or 450 or more, then he would be selected, right? So that is a 450 or less. What am I saying? Yes, so that is for Lowen. So we did two different persons, two different age, two different levels of experience, just to give you guys an idea. No, uncles don't count. It's brothers or sisters, and they can be biological or they can be step sisters or brothers, right? So depending on what the low cutoff score is in the pool, in the round of invitations, then he would be looking forward to receiving an invitation. And as I said, and I keep on saying, express entry isn't something that's new. What is new to us and why a lot of persons are excited about this fact is because they have now added teachers under the STEM category. So they're now giving prioritization to teachers to say they want to invite them to apply. So if you have the experience and you're able to do your evaluation, do your English exam, at least get yourself in the pool. There is no cost. As you can see, it's pretty, just click, 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 and you're there. I know not everybody is very computer savvy, and I understand that. This video will be saved where you will be able to do it in your own time. There's a link in my bio description of this video if you need to connect with me one-on-one and you need me to assist you. I can certainly do that. I'll click on create profile, so you pretty much see. So you, as you can see, when you click on it, it shows you, just gives you a brief overview of what to expect. Okay, so you did high school in French. Okay, so you'll definitely even score higher than the numbers that I gave you. So there you go. And all you would do is to sign into your IRCC account. For those who don't have accounts, you'll be given the option to set an account up, right? So that's everything for how you're able to calculate your score, why it's important to get into the portal once you have experience under these categories. They even added social workers yesterday to the general express entry pool. You guys are not a part of STEM, but you weren't a part of the general pool before. They also added pharmacists as well to that pool. They added a whole bunch. I can't list all of them, but I'm more so focused on the ones for STEM because I know those will be prioritized. And I want it to be a case where if you have this 6 months experience and you are able to get your documents evaluated, you at least give yourself a chance by going into the pool. Once again, there is no cost associated with having your profile created. So if you're able to do that, then that is all well and good, right? So that's where we're going to leave the live for today. I don't know if anybody that's on has any other questions. I'll definitely take those before I have to jump off. And I didn't ask Lowens, was that helpful for you? Were you able to follow along? And it's funny, you see, persons sometimes are on the live and you guys don't ask any questions and then you leave the comments. But I'll respond, no worry. I will still respond. Any other questions? Okay, perfect. So what do you think, Lawrence? I want to hear in real time. Is this something that you think you will be doing? Will you get your documents evaluated to at least set up your express entry profile under the STEM category? Yes, I would 100% recommend it. You have the experience, you have your credentials, and you also have both English and French, which definitely puts you at an advantage. Teachers was just added yesterday, so I don't know if they're going to be the first per set of persons that are called. And if it's a case where they're the first set, I would want you to at least be a part of that. And if Asante is still here, I would definitely want you to be able to do that as well. So you guys have an understanding now of how to calculate your points. So that gives you an idea of where you would fall on the spectrum in terms of the points. And then the only thing that you're mainly able to do to boost your points is to try your best to score as high as you can on the English exam. If you guys have a spouse and they are equally as qualified or more qualified than you can add them as well, and that helps your points because they will come with their education, which gives you points, and they'll also come with their English or French. Okay, perfect. Well, I'm definitely glad that this was helpful for you and it gave you some clarity in terms of being able to move forward for the English or French exams. All you have to do is to just take a look on Google to see where these are offered in your area, or you can go to the website specifically and it will show you where the test centers are. So this is where I sign off for right now. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much for participating. If you're watching this post live, thank you so much as well for being here. Feel free to leave any of your comments down below, and I will definitely respond to you. If you need help with your resume, setting up your profile, calculating your points, or you want to talk about any other programs that I post about on my YouTube or on my TikTok platform, you can definitely use the link to connect with me one on one. But thank you so much again, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.